Hey everyone, welcome to the Smart Economy Podcast, a production of neonewstoday.com. I'm your host, Dylan Grabowski. In this episode, we were joined by Fisher Yu, the CTO of Babylon Labs, the entity tasked with overseeing the development of Babylon, a non-custodial staking protocol that uses the underlying value of Bitcoin to secure a variety of proof-of-stake networks. In this conversation, we discussed Bitcoin's previous limitations in providing liquidity to DeFi protocols, how Babylon is turning Bitcoin into a first-class staking asset, how Bitcoin's security will empower proof-of-stake networks, Babylon's approach to bridging into other ecosystems, the team's multi-phased approach to launching its protocol, successes in attracting Bitcoin stakers to the Babylon ecosystem, and so much more. Just a reminder, nothing said on this podcast is a solicitation to buy or sell any tokens, and that the host or guest may hold tokens discussed in any given episode, and you can check a disclaimer out on www.neonewstoday.com. Also, if you enjoyed this episode, please consider showing your support by rating and reviewing it on your favorite podcasting platform and sharing with your friends and family. Every rate, review, like, and comment helps us reach more people and bring you more of your favorite guests. With all that said, I really enjoyed this conversation with Fisher, and I hope you enjoy it too. Hey everyone, welcome to the Smart Economy Podcast. Today we're joined by Fisher Yu, the CTO of Babylon Labs. And Babylon is a non-custodial staking protocol that uses the underlying value of Bitcoin to secure a variety of proof-of-stake networks. How are you doing today, Fisher?
Hello, Dylan, and hello, everyone. Nice to meet you. Thanks for having me.
I'm really excited to have this conversation. And just a caveat, we've had some really cool kind of interviews with other Bitcoin adjacent builders. And we also spoke with Jacob Phillips from Lombard a couple weeks ago. So we have a little bit of a primer for Bitcoin staking and non custodial staking, but this is all powered by Babylon. So
Thank you.
before we kind of like jump into the conversation, I want to ask kind of like a high level question that might hone in on why you chose to build Babylon. As of the time of recording, the total market cap for Bitcoin is around $2 trillion. And so, what were the factors that kept this pile of liquidity separate from other DeFi protocols? Why wasn't the crypto world able to effectively tap into Bitcoin's liquidity for broader DeFi?
Yep. So the answer is quite simple, because Bitcoin has very limited programmability, so that it cannot be like bridged to other blockchains without the help of a bridge, of a trusted bridge. By trusted bridge, I mean a bridge that is operated by a team, usually in the form of a multisig. So basically, you have to give your Bitcoin to this multisig so that they can issue you a synthetic Bitcoin, such as WBTC, TBTC, whatever BTC, or other chains, so that you can have Bitcoin liquidity.
Babylon users, why are they so eager, excited to leverage the protocol? I think it's easy when we start talking about like WBTC and the negative perceptions of like Bit Global and Justin Sun's kind of role in that ecosystem. It's easy for people to say, I don't like custodial solutions for wrapped Bitcoin. But what are kind of like the pros and what really gets people excited about what Babylon's offering for non-custodial staking solutions?
Sure. So you already mentioned that the keyword here is non-custodial, right? But on the other side, like staking is also interesting. So maybe can spend a few minutes explaining what Babylon is doing with Bitcoin staking. Okay, cool. So think about it. If you are a Bitcoin holder, what can you do with your Bitcoin? You can hold it as a digital gold, or you can make simple payment with it. But honestly, no one's using it for that. Or if you want to put your Bitcoin to work, you can lend it or you can bridge it, right? But these are the existing use cases of Bitcoin. But holding and simple payment, they are native use cases of Bitcoin, because as long as Bitcoin trades safe, you as the user, you are honest, it's fine. But think about lending and bridging. Lending, you have to trust the counterparty that can give you Bitcoin back. Bridging, as we just discussed, you need to give your Bitcoin to basically a multi-sig. Okay, so those are not native use cases of Bitcoin. So that's why Bitcoin holders very hesitate to use all those more fancy use cases. Okay, so basically, before the concept of Bitcoin staking came up, there is no way for you to put your Bitcoin to work in a native trustless way. But if you think about most of other coins or tokens, most of them are like proof of stake tokens, which can be staked to provide security to the chain. And in return, the chain will have staking reward from its emission, inflation, and transaction fee, so that you can put your token to work and earn staking reward. But this is missing for Bitcoin. So at what we do at Babylon is to turn Bitcoin into a first-class stakeable asset so that Bitcoin can be staked to protect other decentralized systems in a proof of stake way and earn staking reward. And most importantly, we do this in a trustless and self-custodial way, making it the third native use case of Bitcoin, which is also the first yield generating use case for Bitcoin.
Where did the name Babylon come from?
The name of Babylon came from my co-founder, Professor David Shen from Stanford University. So Babylon is an ancient city, but it was also the first human marketplace in history. And at Babylon, we envision a world that is secured by Bitcoin. So this basically creates a two-sided security sharing marketplace or liquidity sharing marketplace. With one side is Bitcoin, and the consumer side is the rest of the crypto world. So this is a marketplace, and Babylon is the first marketplace in history.
Okay, perfect. So before we delve further into Babylon and all the really cool use cases that are starting to expand out of what this protocol offers, I do kind of want to hear a little bit about your genesis story. So, when was the first time you heard about Bitcoin? And if you're similar to me or like so many other guests that we've had on the pod, maybe it didn't click right away. So maybe you heard about Bitcoin and then you had an aha moment later. So if you could just share what that was for you, I would love to hear it.
Yeah, so my first encounter with Bitcoin was around 2015, 16. Yeah, at that time, my impression of Bitcoin, yeah, it's just money laundering bank. Yeah, so it was so wrong. But later, I did my PhD on network information theory and postdoc on decentralized system security, aka blockchain security. Then I realized, oh, how beautiful and elegant, simple and elegant the Bitcoin design is. Then I immediately like fall in love with Bitcoin and continue my research and industry consulting and business with Bitcoin.
I actually got to visit 2 years ago USC where you did your postdoc,
Oh yeah,
and I was doing a university tour talking with all the different blockchain clubs at different universities in the US, and USC had a really strong blockchain club.
yes,
Um,
yes,
you were doing your postdoc there in 2016, 2017-ish.
yeah,
Was
17, yeah.
there a was there a blockchain community back then? Was there a club on campus were students or your fellow postdoc peers talking about these cryptocurrencies and probably
Yes,
decentralized networks because this is what you were studying, but what was like the perspective back then? What were people talking about Bitcoin and decentralization when you were doing your postdoc?
yeah. By that time, people are still focused on the consensus algorithm. Should it be proof of work? Should it be proof of stake? Should it be practical BFT? Should it be hot stuff BFT? People are still thinking about what should be the right consensus engine underpinning the blockchain system. And people are still believe that the blockchain that has the best consensus engine will win the crypto world. But then we have the DeFi summer, then people realize, hey, it is not so much about consensus. It's about the ecosystem, the things you can actually do with the chain, not just about the consensus.
Do you think that consensus still plays an important factor though? I got into the crypto space in 2017 and my first kind of the first project I fell in love with was Neo. and it had
Mm.
this BFT consensus. And back then, everybody was saying the best consensus is going to completely win out. But today it still does matter. I mean, Bitcoin's block time is 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And if we're using the touted case of we want to be able to use blockchain networks to buy our coffee, 10 minutes is still a little too long. So
Yeah.
does it still have
Coffee
a
will be
role?
cold already.
Yeah, exactly. So does consensus still kind of play an important aspect, or are we starting to look towards like applications that build on top of second layers, and so we don't need like core consensus?
I wouldn't say we don't need core consensus. I would say arguably the most important piece of the blockchain world, because that's the part that makes sure the decentralized system is secure and performing. It is just that we already passed the what I call the basic infrastructure phase, where we lay down the most basic things for the blockchain system. Think about wireless communication, cellular communication. We still need Wi-Fi, we still need our base station, right? But the technique there become mature. So what we focus more is on application layer, your mobile phones, the bigger screen, more apps, right? Faster apps. So I wouldn't say consensus or the wireless communication techniques become irrelevant. They are still there and they are the foundation. They are super important.
I completely agree. I guess maybe then I would like to reshape the question, and does consensus speed matter? Does the 10-minute block times of Bitcoin really hamper the ability for people to want to use that network versus like Cosmos's like 3-second finality with its BFT?
Yeah, so the performance depends on the value proposition of blockchain. So for example, like Bitcoin, digital gold, hold it, very simple payment, then 10 minutes, fine. On the other hand, say Sui, super high throughput, super fast confirmation, 250 millisecond block. So yeah, it really depends on the value proposition of blockchain.
Okay. And so after you did your postdoc at USC, you kind of spent time in industry, and you landed at Dolby Labs, focusing on R&D for decentralized multimedia delivery solutions. This was the bear market of 2018, 19 when you landed there. What
Yeah.
was what was the interest? What was Dolby Lab, a media conglomerate that from my experience growing up was mostly focused on like sound solutions? What
Yeah.
was Dolby looking at decentralized networks for? What were they curious about? What were you working on then?
Okay, sure. So actually, my story with Dolby went before that, before my postdoc. So in my final year of PhD in Australia, I invented the decentralized media delivery algorithm and patented and sold it to Dolby. And then I joined USC to do my postdoc. But only after about 6 months, I received a call from Dolby asking me, "Hey, you can't just sell IP to us. You need to come and build." So I dropped out from my postdoc and joined Dolby. Okay. Yeah, you asked the very good question. Why Dolby? Why does Dolby have anything to do with decentralized system? For the audience information, Dolby. So I'm talking about Dolby, not Adobe, the PDF thing, not Adobe. Dolby is the surround sound, 2.1 channel, and Dolby Atmos, Dolby Cinema, where yeah, you can have fully immersive experience, audio visual experience. Okay. Why does Dolby care about delivery? So Dolby has the world's best video audio capturing techniques and algorithms. It also has the world's best playback device and algorithms. But in order to build a whole ecosystem, it's something missing. It is the transportation in the industry called glass to glass transportation of the data. From the glass of the camera to the glass of the TV. So data transmission in the between is missing. So Dolby would like to build a whole ecosystem full stack, but it doesn't have the delivery part, and it doesn't want to be hijacked by a third-party delivery solution such as CDNs. So they want to have a new solution that is not centralized, because otherwise they will be hijacked by a certain vendor. That's why they acquired my IP and built a decentralized media delivery system. So now Dolby Cloud, it's quite popular. And if you open it up and deep down there, you can see a piece of my algorithm there.
That's super cool. So
Yeah,
this is an instance where decentralization was solving a solution and we weren't creating a problem.
yeah, exactly.
So you spent a couple years there and then came into the blockchain space. So what was it about Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies that kind of like lured you from Dolby and decided that it was time to start working on solutions for the Bitcoin ecosystem?
Yeah. So while I was working for Dolby, I already started to collaborate with Professor David Shea in academic research and then some industry consulting on the blockchain space. So it's not like I suddenly quit from a Web2 company and start Web3. So I gradually earn my experience and expertise in the blockchain at the both the academic setting and industry setting for about 3 years. So from 2018 to 2021, for 3 years. And then towards the end of 2021, it was like the last cycle DeFi summer, right? So we saw like hundreds of layer one chains and even thousands or even millions of DeFis. So the entire blockchain space is very fragmented. Everyone does their own thing competing with each other. So then we came up with a vision or a prediction that this is not sustainable. One day there should be a more united blockchain world. And one way toward this is the bigger chains should be able to provide security and liquidity to the smaller ones and get something back in return so that the whole blockchain world are not it's not comprised of just isolated islands, but yeah, all interconnected. Then we came up with the concept of security sharing, where the source of security is Bitcoin. So David and I were so fascinated by this idea or this vision, so we decided to co-found Babylon, and this is how our journey started.
So when did you guys conceptualize Babylon then? Was it like
21,
2022, 21? So and
21, late
then
2021.
and now you're just starting to phase out or you're just starting to phase the rollout for onboarding stakers onto the protocol. So I guess maybe then I don't know how to eloquently ask this question.
Oh yeah, what are you doing for 3 years?
Yeah, how hard what like how difficult was this problem? Because it's a very eloquent solution. It sounds so simple. You can elevator pitch it. You can say it in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But it took 3 years to get here. So like what was so difficult? Why was this such a hard problem to tackle?
Okay, so just to clarify, we didn't come up with specific Bitcoin staking concept from day one. Indeed, when we founded Babylon, the first protocol we invented is merge mining, where we have a side chain that recycles the Bitcoin miners' hashing power, so that is also a proof of work chain and with very high hash rate, very high security. That was our first idea. But then we quickly abandoned it because we realized it doesn't work. The reason is that the Bitcoin miners can attack this side chain without compromising its Bitcoin mainnet mining. So there's a nothing at stake problem there. Bitcoin miners don't care. So our first security sharing protocol, aka merge mining, only lasted like 3 months, and we quickly abandoned it. Then we came up with our second Bitcoin security sharing protocol, which is called Bitcoin timestamping. That's why it's a very good one. It solves an inherent problem of proof of stake systems that cannot be solved by proof of stake system themselves, no matter how you modify it or upgrade it. It is inherent. It's by birth. So proof of stake system has an issue called long range attack, where the validators at the Genesis block or the early blocks can create a fork of the POS chain after it unbounds from the main chain. So this is called long range attack. Yeah, that sounds very technical. But in short, POS chains has an inherent problem called long range attack or history revision attack. It cannot be solved by POS systems themselves. And because of this weakness, POS systems usually have a very long stake unbounding time. So once you stake, if you want to unbound, get your token back, usually takes weeks or even months. Yeah, because of history revision problem, because the chain is afraid that you will revise the history. So they hold your token for a very long time. So our second protocol called Bitcoin timestamping solves this problem. by checkpointing POS chain data back to Bitcoin. Bitcoin doesn't have this problem. Like the deeper the data is, the more secure because you have a long chain built on top of it, right? So yeah, Bitcoin's timestamping is a very good solution, very good, but it was too good in the sense that it's almost like a free service. POS chains we came up with a super cool contraction algorithm that can checkpoint POS chain data to Bitcoin in less than 80 bytes, no matter in less than 150 bytes, no matter how big the block is, how many chains are using the service. Then there's no economic value there. Super cheap to use, it's kind of easy to use as well. This solution, this protocol, also has its own problem. Because it's a timestamping protocol on BTC, it is kind of slow.
Mm-hmm.
You need to wait at least 10 minutes to get something written on Bitcoin. And you need to wait for hours to have it be confirmed on BTC. It's too slow. So we asked ourselves, actually in early 2023, that can we somehow extract the security of Bitcoin that is fast enough, not at the pace of 10 minutes? Is there something in the order of seconds or even milliseconds we can extract from Bitcoin? By then, we came up with the concept of Bitcoin staking, where it's not the Bitcoin chain proof of work power that provides security. It's the Bitcoin, the asset, that acts as a proof of stake asset to provide security. But we all know that proof of stake is super fast. So this is fast. And because Bitcoin asset is activated, it has unimaginable, unbelievable economic impact. So yeah, then Bitcoin staking become one of the hottest protocol in the space. And it took us about half a year to do the research and build the POC and prove that it works. So in July 2023, after nearly 6 months of research, we publish our light paper and tell the world, hey, Bitcoin staking is possible.
Yeah, I think that's the first. I heard a podcast last summer, almost immediately after you guys released the light paper, and so Babylon's kind of been like on my radar for a long time, and it's clearly seeing some market success right now with the amount of staking that's going on. But I do want to just kind of maybe clarify or just kind of dig in a little further. What are the POS networks that are relying on Babylon? Like, are Ethereum clients leveraging this service? Are Cosmos side chains leveraging this service? Like, I understand as a staker, I can stake my Bitcoin through Babylon and earn points. But like, what about the product or the project on a separate chain? Who are some of your like chain users or your chain clients?
Great question. So in theory, Bitcoin staking adds a proof of stake layer security on top of any decentralized system. It could be Ethereum itself, Solana, Sui, Cosmos Hub, or any Ethereum rollup, whatever rollup, side chains, subnets. Okay. In theory, it adds a layer of POS security on top of anything. However, in reality, we only have limited bandwidth. So we have to pick some primary targets for the adoption. So currently, we have 3 categories of adoption. One is Cosmos chains, like Cosmos Hub, Osmosis, and other Cosmos chains. And second is Ethereum rollup, OP-like rollup or Arbitrum-like rollup. And third is Bitcoin rollup. So these are the 3 types of decentralized systems that we are currently focusing on.
So you said Bitcoin rollups. What are some examples right now? Like I just spoke with Bob yesterday. So
Yeah,
is it
Bob,
like
yeah.
built on Bitcoin? Who are some other kind of, because like the conversation we were having with Bob is that BitVM is still slowly rolling out. We're not going to see a lot of BitVM projects until on mainnet, maybe like Q4 next year, 2025, Q4 2025. So like, who are some other examples of like Bitcoin rollups that you're speaking with now?
Yeah, Bitcoin rollups like Bob, Citra, Chakra, New Bit, Big Layer, and Step Layer. Yeah, there are quite a few good Bitcoin rollups or Bitcoin sidechain projects.
Very cool. Cosmos, Ethereum rollups, and Bitcoin rollups are like the three
Yeah,
most interoperable
yeah,
ecosystems right now.
yeah,
So once you deploy to like IBC enabled ecosystems or
yeah.
EVM enabled ecosystems or BitVM enabled ecosystems, how easy is it then to just be able to copy and paste to like a different chain in each of those ecosystems? Is it really simple at that point?
Cosmos ecosystem, it can be quite standard. So once we develop the integration solution, yes, it become a boilerplate. If so for OP, yes, standardized and Arbitron standardized, no problem. But for Bitcoin rollups, there are so many different tech stacks. So we have to do more customization for those.
Will Babylon be kind of like helping to create the composability tech stack for BitVM then as you start to like create this code that can interact with all the different BitVM chains? Are you guys kind of like at the ground level of creating like an SDK or something for others to build on top of after you've already created the work?
So we are not core contributors to BitVM, but we're monitoring it and try to also make some contribution to it or the protocols built on top of BitVM. But we do know BitVM very well. Actually, it's BitVM too.
Yes, correct. Perfect. So when I'm looking at the Babylon dashboard right now. Confirmed TVL of 3.36 billion in US dollars today with the current price of Bitcoin. The amount of staked Bitcoin just keeps going up.
Yes.
So you're on cap 3 right now. Can you explain a little bit about the cap process, how you guys have slowly kind of like increased the amount of time that you can have stakers, and why you're taking this sort of like a
Yeah.
phased approach to finding
Yeah.
Bitcoin stakers?
Yeah. Sure. Sure. So in for the context of the audience, okay, Bitcoin staking is brand new. No one has done it before. Okay. So we are talking about bootstrapping a $2 trillion marketplace where we have the supplier Bitcoin holders with their Bitcoin, and we have consumer. Consumer are the POS chains roll-ups that will consume Bitcoin staking, and Babylon will be acting as the marketplace in the middle. Okay, so we are bootstrapping a very new market. Then we look left and we look right. Think about which side should we bootstrap first. We pick the supply side. Because if we bootstrap the demand side and people come to the supermarket and say, hey, there's nothing in the shelf, that doesn't work. So we should have to first bootstrap the supply side. So we decided to launch our mainnet in phases, and be precise, in 3 phases. Phase 1, we bootstrap the supply side by inviting Bitcoin holders to stake their Bitcoin on Bitcoin chain. In the second phase, we will bootstrap the marketplace itself by launching the Babylon chain, which will take the Bitcoin stake in phase 1 and receive Bitcoin security. This is phase 2. Then in phase 3, we bootstrap the consumer side, the demand side, by enable Bitcoin multi-staking so that one Bitcoin can be staked and secure multiple decentralized systems at the same time so that the consumer side can be bootstrapped. So phase 1, 2, and 3 to bootstrap the 3 pieces of our market. And we are currently at phase 1.
Can you just kind of maybe spell out super simply for me who the consumer will be? Because I understand providing supply. Like we want the Bitcoin asset to be providing security to this ecosystem, and I understand that the Babylon chain will launch and this will enable the marketplace. But then, who are the consumers going to be? What is this market going to be?
This is a security sharing marketplace where the consumers will be the Cosmos chains, Ether rollups, and Bitcoin rollups that I have mentioned earlier.
A staked Bitcoin needs 10 block confirmations for its status to become active. How did your team kind of settle on the 10 Bitcoin block confirmation limit?
Yeah, sure. So usually Bitcoin confirmation depth is chosen at 6. We just err on the side of caution and set it to 10.
So I think like a lot of people who are hearing this, they're gonna hear, "Oh, great! I can stake my Bitcoin and I'm gonna earn yield." And maybe people would think that the yield they earn is gonna be in Bitcoin, but I don't think we're quite there yet. So Babylon is actually doing a rewards point system. So can you just share a little bit about why the team is doing a rewards point system, why we can't distribute Bitcoin as yield, and kind of maybe what the vision moving forward is for Bitcoin or for the yields and rewards?
First, to clarify, it is not reward point. It's just point. There's no reward, and by no means points can be converted to reward. There's no monetary value to the points. Okay, now, so my answer, so you actually asked two questions. One is why the reward is not Bitcoin, and second, why there's a point system. Okay, so I would like to answer the why there's point system first. Currently, we're in phase one. There's no chain to be secured by Bitcoin, so there's no reward. But Bitcoin holders, they already lock their Bitcoin on Bitcoin chain. So we built a point system to mimic the reward process by in case there pretending that there is chain that is secured by Bitcoin. So think about how POS reward works. Whenever a block is created, new coins are minted, and the new coins are the newly minted coins are proportionally distributed to all the stakers. So what we do here is a mimic of this system using point rather than real POS token reward. Where by each Bitcoin block, currently the protocol, not we, the protocol will generate 10,000 points. And all these 10,000 points will be distributed proportionally to the Bitcoin stakers. Like it's a mimic of a proper reward system.
So then there's a future where like Babylon is securing like Optimism, is securing an app chain on Cosmos, is securing whatever. And the Bitcoin staker will actually earn the yields from those chains.
Yeah. And the reward will be denominated by the chains and rollups that they secure. It's not in Bitcoin. Because from their perspective, like they are hiring a bodyguard, a security team, so that they pay a bodyguard using their own currency.
That brings up kind of an interesting question then. Like, is Babylon going to have to create a wallet in order to be able to show the staker all the different tokens that they're earning from the yields? Because we're talking Cosmos chains, we're talking EVM, we're talking BitVM chains. There's going to be so many different token rewards that are generated on so many different networks. Like, have you guys created more problems for yourself and had to create a new app and a new wallet in order to be able to track all of this?
Okay, yeah, great question. So we don't have to create a new wallet because it is possible for all the different token rewards to be like bridged to Babylon so that you can have just one place to manage all your rewards. Okay, because underneath the private key or the signature algorithm, there's infinite number of such algorithms. So it's not too difficult to manage those things. And through techniques such as account abstraction, you will make the user experience even simpler.
And so account abstraction is kind of farther along in
It's further
EVM
along.
land.
Yeah.
EVM land, I'm not quite sure like where AA is in like Cosmos land, and in BitVM, I mean, everything's being
No,
built
not
from
exactly.
scratch, so it can be added easily. So like, what's it like dealing with the various different progressions of account abstraction on different chains? I guess because you guys you're building in so many different levels of maturity of ecosystems that
Yeah.
sometimes I just get the sense that maybe Babylon is like uncovering what is and what isn't working in specific ecosystems, and maybe you're helping teams to kind of hone in on what they need to. So
Yeah.
what's that like for things like account abstraction? Like, are you finding headaches at different turns for different networks or?
Yeah. So we did do some research on account abstraction. It is not our high priority at the moment, but at some point it will become important for user experience. So account abstraction is much more mature on the east side than any other ecosystem. On the other hand, the account abstraction on the Bitcoin side is very immature because you don't really have the proper, say, trustless account abstraction. So most of the account abstractions solutions on the Bitcoin side is basically, again, kind of multisig or a bridge. They will help you to move your funds around by holding, by actually controlling your asset.
Mm-hmm.
Again, because of the limited programmability of Bitcoin.
Yeah. And so I think something that's really interesting about Babylon is you're using this term for not necessarily stakers, but maybe like staking aggregators like Lombard or like Solve Protocol. You're calling them finality providers. So
Oh, okay.
what's the name finality provider? What does it like represent? Is it something more than just like a staking entity?
Lombard, so they are liquid staking projects. Yeah, they collect Bitcoins from their users and stake to the Babylon protocol and issue synthetic, like liquid Bitcoins to their users on Ethereum or Sui or other smarter chains. Okay, but it just happened that they want to have their own finality provider. They don't want to stake their Bitcoin and dedicate to someone else. So they also create a finality provider. Oh, sorry. So I should first explain what is finality provider. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, what does Bitcoin staking provide? It's a proof of stake layer security on top of anything. Proof of stake security is about finality. A block is proposed by someone and it's voted yes by 2/3 of the validators. So then the block is finalized. So finality provider is a set of validators that is backed by Bitcoin staking. To distinguish it, Bitcoin staking security layer with the base layer consensus, we don't call the Bitcoin validators because the base layer already have validators. So for the Bitcoin staking POS layer, we call those validators finality providers. But finality providers from a functional perspective, you can think of it as validators who can receive delegations. Yeah. So Lombard and Solve, they don't want to delegate their Bitcoin to another finality provider. So they create their own finality provider and delegate to themselves.
Perfect. Thank you for explaining that. So how do you go about finding these how do you go about creating these relationships with finality providers? Are you going out and going to conferences and doing the circuits and trying to find folks like Lombard? Are they coming to you? What do these relationships look like? How did they start?
Last year, I think in November, I attended a conference called Staking Summit, which is the biggest conference for all the validators. I gave a talk about Bitcoin staking because at that time everyone was talking about ETH staking. That's it. Then I dropped a bomb to the validator community, say, hey, now Bitcoin is stakeable. Because for most of the professional validators, they are not retailer facing actually. They have their own institutional like big customers behind it. Okay. So and with very high chance their customers, clients already have a lot of Bitcoin sitting there doing nothing. So once they heard about Bitcoin staking and once their clients heard about Bitcoin staking, they got very excited. So it is like a lot of interest mutually. Then yeah, we just come along very quickly. I don't have to do a lot of convincing, and yeah, the collaboration was super smooth.
So, I mean, like it's clear that there's a market for this. Since we've been recording this interview, it's been 42 minutes and there's already another 100 Bitcoin that have been confirmed in TVL on Babylon. So,
Okay,
like
great.
the market is hungry. So like who are these people? Are they individual stakers? Are they institutions like the folks you just mentioned? Is it a combination of everything? Like, who are you finding are the biggest users of Babylon right now?
According to the data we have seen so far, the majority of Bitcoins come from liquid staking protocols. RSD protocols. So Lombard is liquid staking protocol. Solve, Bedrock, Lorenzo, they are all liquid staking protocols. They source their institutional and retailer users Bitcoin and then stake to us. Uh, in this cap, because its duration is long enough, it gives enough time for institutional stakers to stake by themselves. Because previously our cap was so short, in like 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, it doesn't give institutions enough time because they have a longer internal process before they do anything, right? But this time we see more direct staking from institutions, and also a lot more direct staking from retailer users as well. Right? You can see, I think the number of stakers passed 50K, right? You can dashboard.
Yes, 66.68.
66. Okay. So my dream for this cap is to reach 100K stakers. 100K.
Can you share really quickly a little bit about the differences between the stakers and the delegations? Because there's 66,000 stakers and 74,000 delegations. So what's the difference between the two?
Each staker is like unique Bitcoin holder. Each delegation is the number of staking transactions you do.
Okay.
So that's why the number of delegations is greater than the stakers, because a staker can do multiple stakings. And why do we know that they are both retailer stakers and institutional stakers? It's because if you look at the staking amount, the limit we set, the minimum limit is 0.005 BTC. The maximum we set in the last cap is 500 BTC. And guess what? We have stakers on both sides of the spectrum and everything in between. So there were people who stake 500 BTC in one transaction, like $50 million in one transaction.
That's incredible because this is such cutting edge technology. And when we're talking about institutions, they're viewing Bitcoin as an asset that they buy and hold, and they don't want to lend, they don't want to trade, they don't want to speculate. This is digital property that they want to acquire and hold.
Yeah.
So maybe if you could speculate, like, why are these big, large scale institutions taking the leap? Why are they saying we will indeed stake $50 million worth of Bitcoin, 500 Bitcoin? Are you guys starting to see a shift in the perspective of these large scale institutions that hold Bitcoin? Are they starting to see that there's a way that they can earn yield? Is this something they've wanted for a long time? Or is this something that they're just starting to understand they can do?
I think it's a combination of everything you just said. Plus that we take a very cautious approach in phase one. So we're currently in cap 3, so 1.3, phase 1 cap 3, 1.3. We had our 1.1, our first cap, we only accepted 1,000 Bitcoins. And that cap went like instantly filled. And then we do security audits, we do security campaigns, bug bounties for over a month before we open the second cap. And after the second cap only lasts 1.5 hours. We accumulate more than $2 billion worth of Bitcoin. And then only after 1.5 months, again, we open cap 3. So we do things in a very cautious and progressive way, which the institutes appreciate.
Was Cap 2 held in October this year?
Yes, October 8th.
Okay, because you can see on the dashboard just like a skyrocket in locked
Yes.
TDL. So that was
Yeah.
one of my questions. Like, what was that? Where did that come from? But that was cap 2. So how many more caps do you guys have envisioned for Babylon? Is cap 3 the end, or are there more?
I cannot guarantee you, but highly likely cap 3 will be the last one.
And then what's next?
Then we will launch phase 2 to have the Babylon chain launched. And one more comment on the institutional adoption. So the numbers you see right now is not the full potential of Bitcoin staking, because there are even bigger institutes that take even longer time to review the technology, to test the technology, do the integration. Yeah, so very, very long time. So the numbers you see are far from the limit, the true limit of Bitcoin staking. So you will see the adoption of Bitcoin staking steadily increase over the next few years.
So this is an interesting topic that I wanted to touch upon a little bit, because we just saw here in the US the Bitcoin ETFs launch earlier this year, and a lot of these traditional financial institutions that have an ETF like BlackRock, Fidelity, VanEck, you name it, they all ended up custodying their Bitcoin with Coinbase, a trusted, centralized, custodial solution provider. Are you starting to have, and you don't have to mention any names. I'm sure that none of these guys want their names mentioned. But are you starting to have conversations with these types of entities who are getting curious about non-custodial staking solutions, non-custodial solutions? Are these conversations showing you they grasp what the difference is between a custodial and a non-custodial solution? Is it something that they even want right now?
So first of all, we don't deal with US Bitcoins, US customers. Yeah. So
Sadly, I know
no,
this.
no US, no US. But in terms of seeing the conflict concept between non-custodial or self-custodial solution and custody, they sound like conflicting with each other, but it is actually not the case. So think about this. When people criticize about Bitcoin or the Bitcoin file or any DeFi being centralized, it is not just about the asset. It's not at the end user's hand. It's there are many parties in the protocol. It's not just the user and the chain. If this is the case, yes, no problem. It's the user. As long as the chain is safe, the user is honest, everything's fine. But in most of the protocols, there are many parties involved in it. In the custody that help the user to manage their asset, it's just one of the potential counterparties the users have to worry. And I would say the custody is the least risky counterparty that the end user needs to worry about. To me, the custody themselves, I view them as the extension of the user because they help the non-technical users to manage their asset with their approval. And there's usually very strong legal binding between it. When we talk about self-custodial or non-custodial solutions, we are talking more about removing the risk of other intermediaries of the entire protocol, right? For example, a bridge in the middle or a smart contract controlled by a multisig. So those are the custodies or intermediaries that may create conflict of interest or may steal your coins away. The custody is not the biggest concern.
hmm
So when we talk about non-custodial or self-custodial trustless Bitcoin staking, then the risk we would like to eliminate is the bridge type of counterparty or the oracle or the altcoin collateral kind of risk associated with Bitcoin staking. But if you are non-technical, you are not a technical people, you rely on a custody to help you do your operation, that's totally fine.
And the conversations you're having are like large scale entities starting to grasp this? Are they starting to understand the difference between just custodying their Bitcoin versus creating a new way to earn yield on these assets? Are they grokking that, or is it still kind of like
I,
not there yet?
I think most of them already get it by now. Yeah. So they understand that apart from their very much trusted custody providers, there's no other counterparties, which is great.
So you mentioned a moment ago that you don't touch U.S. entities at all. As a U.S. citizen, I am very well aware that I cannot stake on Babylon. Maybe why is that? I understand that the SEC was very negative towards companies building in the U.S. So maybe this is a two-pronged question then. What made it difficult for Babylon to be able to service US based users and entities? And then, second, have the recent pro crypto candidates that have been elected to office, is that changing Babylon's outlook?
I don't think I'm the best one to comment on this problem, but I would like to say that we don't just block US. We also block UK, we block Canada, we also block all the sanctioned countries and regions by the United Nations. So there are a lot of countries and regions we exclude from Bitcoin staking.
So, where are most of your users then? APAC region?
Yeah, APAC region and European, some of the Europeans.
Cool. So, kind of zooming out and wrapping up, I want to ask kind of like a larger scale existential question. When Bitcoin was created by the cypherpunks. It was supposed to be this non-state money that can't be co-opted or shut down by a nation state. And now we see a lot of crypto Twitter championing BlackRock and Fidelity and these large-scale institutions and banks for buying Bitcoin. We see crypto Twitter championing China and Russia and the US adding Bitcoin to their strategic reserve. What does this say for Bitcoin? You know, like MicroStrategy and all the ETF issuers, they own a large percentage of the Bitcoin supply now. Are we at like a point in Bitcoin's life where we have to be concerned about these centralized institutions that Bitcoin was created to fight against? Or was this always kind of like a part of the playbook and maybe this isn't as existential as I might think it is?
Okay, yeah, great question. So we do see a trend of centralization of the Bitcoin asset. But remember, Bitcoin is the asset of the Bitcoin chain. The Bitcoin chain is maintained by the miners. As long as the miners are not controlled by a country or a company, the Bitcoin chain is decentralized. It is censorship resistant. So chain is still centralized. That's the most important thing.
Cool. I love that answer. Succinct, simple, something to keep an eye on for anybody who gets worried about this. So, like looking forward, before we talk about next steps for Babylon, what are some other types of Bitcoin related projects that you and your team are keeping an eye on in the Bitcoin ecosystem?
Yeah, sure. For sure, we keep an eye on Bitcoin VM related projects. Yeah, and also the recent progress in terms of adding new opcode to BTC like OPCAT, yeah, CheckCVT, yeah, which will make Bitcoin much more programmable and build much more interesting use cases for Bitcoin. So these are the main like high level directions we keep an eye on.
After launching Babylon this year, what is one thing that has played out like you thought it would? And what's one thing about the launch of Babylon that has surprised you?
It was during Cap 1, the first cap where we take 1,000 Bitcoins. The transaction fee during the very short period, like 1 hour period, where we open the staking window, went up like 300x Bitcoin on-chain transaction fee. We didn't expect that. The miners of that 6 block earned like, I don't know, 50 BTC or more. Yeah, just within in transaction fee on top of the mining fee because we launched our Cap 1. So it is a big surprise. It drew a lot of attention, but looking back, you feel the transaction was too high. So we, in our later caps, we changed it from amount-based cap to duration-based cap, so that people do not have to compete to get in. That's the biggest surprise. What played out very well, I think, it's the launch our mainnet. It went very smooth, no hiccups. Yeah, so very happy with that.
So phase one is about to complete with Cap 3, maybe, not putting words
Yeah,
in your mouth.
yeah.
Phase 2 launches soon. So what else is on the roadmap for Babylon in 2025?
So after phase 2, you will be phase 3, where we bootstrap the demand side so that Cosmos chains, EtherOps, and Bitcoin Ops can start using Bitcoin staking. Okay, and then on top of that, we will work closely with our liquid staking protocols to bring not only Bitcoin security but Bitcoin liquidity to the whole ecosystem. If you zoom out a further, you can see that BTC staking is actually the first native use case for Bitcoin on top of the making it idle and all single payment. So next year, we will see it's actually the genesis year of true Bitcoin DeFi. Previously, Bitcoin DeFi rely on third parties, multi-sigs, but 2025, you will be the genesis year of true Bitcoin DeFi. And if you zoom out even more, you can see that what we are doing is to bring something to unite Bitcoin world with the rest of the crypto world. And then because Bitcoin is the most accepted crypto in the so-called mainstream world. So we have the chance to unite the mainstream world with the entire crypto world through Bitcoin staking, so that we have the entire world united, starting from 2025.
I love it. It's like a layer zero, a social consensus for
Yeah.
bridging Bitcoin into other blockchain ecosystems. It's a
Yes.
fantastic
Yes.
image and vision. So for anyone who listened to this, who is it that you're interested in speaking with, and what's the best way they can reach out to you?
Yeah, sure. So you can follow our Twitter, Babylon Labs IO. Yeah, you can also join our community in Discord. Yeah, I will be very active there.
Awesome. Fisher, I was very much looking forward to this conversation, so I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to chat with us. This was a
Yeah.
fantastic discussion. Love
Thanks so
Babylon, love
much,
what you
Dylan.
guys are working on. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dylan. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Smart Economy podcast. To stay in the loop with all of our latest episodes and insights, head over to www.smarteconomypodcast.com. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for all of our video content. If you enjoyed today's discussion, please consider showing your support by liking, commenting, and reviewing this episode on your favorite podcasting platform. Your feedback helps us reach more listeners and bring even better content your way. We'd also love to hear from you. So please drop a comment on Spotify or YouTube to share what topics you'd like us to cover or who you'd like us to have as our next guest. And if you know someone who would make a great guest, please reach out. We're always looking for fresh voices or perspectives. And for our NEO token holders, please consider voting for NEO News today as your council representative. We've proudly been serving the NEO ecosystem since 2017, and will continue to do so by putting portions of our council rewards directly back into ecosystem growth initiatives. With all that said, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode of the Smart Economy podcast, and we look forward to catching you next time.